Hello everyone, welcome to today's tutorial. In today's tutorial, we want to learn how to draft a basic bodice pattern. So what you need in today's tutorial is your pattern paper. As you can see, this is my pattern paper. You need your pencil or your marker, and you need your scissors, and then my rulers. Rulers is optional. You can use your freehand as we go. Then try and buy your French curves. It really helps. It makes life easier. Then the measurement you need for this, your basic bodice, is your shoulder measurement, your armhole measurement, your bust measurement, your waist measurement, your hip measurement. But the hip measurement, it depends on where you want the top to stop. You can decide to stop before the hips. Some people like it long top, some people like it normal size of top. So without wasting much of our time, let's go straight into the tutorial. So I'm going to draft my back and my front pattern together at the same time. So what I will do is for me to divide my pattern paper into my front and my back bodice. To divide my paper, I'm going to use the biggest measurement. And the biggest measurement for this particular project is my hip measurement. And the hip measurement is 43 inches. So when I divide 43 inches by 4, I will have 10.75. So I will call it 11 inches. Then I will use 1 inch that is 12 inches. I'll use 2 inches seam allowance. That is 14 inches. For my back zip allowance, I will use 2 inches. That is just how to divide the paper. Don't worry, when we get into the tutorial, you will understand everything. It will be step by step. So this, my pattern paper is about 32.5 inches. So I will mark 17.5 for the back bodies, and then the remaining one, I will use it for my front. So this is where I have my 17 inches. You can decide to draft one by one, that is drafting the back, then you come back and draft the front. Or you draft the front, then you come back and draft the back. It's still okay. So I will call this my center back, CB. Then I will call this my center front, CF. I believe you can see. Can you see? So now that we have divided the paper into two, let's go straight now into the main drafting. So in all, you're going to divide all your measurements by 4, except your shoulder measurement, which you are dividing it by 2. Now the first thing I will do to draft my basic bodies is to draw a straight line. And this straight line will serve as my shoulder line. So I will label that SL. That's my shoulder line. SL, my shoulder line. So from that, my shoulder line, I will measure from my shoulder to my waist. The one I'm working with, when I measure from the shoulder to the smallest part of the waist, for the front measurement is 17 inches. So I will mark my 17 inches. That will, I will connect with a straight line. So I will call that my waist line, because that is where I have my waist. Another one that I will measure will be from my shoulder to the bust point. From my shoulder to where I have my bust point. So the one I'm working with is 10 inches from the shoulder to the bust point. So I will mark 10 inches. When you are doing yours, you need to measure your own separately. Don't use what I'm using unless you have the same measurement with the person I'm drafting this for. So I will call this my bust line, BL. So what I'm saying in essence, we are different individuals and our body is of different size. So you don't use what I'm using for mine unless we have the same body size. But if you don't have the same body size, measure your own. Where you have your bust point, then you mark. Where you have your waistline, then you mark it as well. Because if you use mine, it will not fit the plan. The next one will be the full length. So I'm going to make use of 25 inches for my full length. You can decide to make use of 26. You can decide to make use of 25 as well. The measurement depends on where you want your top to stop. So that is your own preference. I'll mark my 25 inches. I'm going to connect to have a straight line. So that is my full length line, FL. So what I will do now will be for me to mark my armhole line. That is what is remaining now. So for you to mark your armhole, measure around your bust. That is the circumference of your bust. When you measure it, divide it by 6. When you divide it by 6, then you add 1.5. So I will mark mine now, the one I'm working with. So now let's go to the back measurement. So now let's mark the vertical measurement for the back. First of all, I will start with the waist measurement. The waist measurement for the back, when you measure from your shoulder to the smallest part of the waist, for the back is different from what you have for the front. The reason being that there is bust for the front. So the bust will carry the measurement, while the back is flat. So the one I'm working with, remember the front waistline was 17 inches. So the back is 15 inches. So measure your own. Then whatever measurement you have, you put it down. You'll see that there is a difference. So the one I'm working with is 15 from the shoulder to my waist. Is 15 inches for the back. So I'm putting it down now. We'll mark, we'll connect with a straight line. So that is my waistline for the back. Then let's mark the full length line. So this is my full length line for the back. And for the back, I'm going to use 2 inches zipper allowance. Remember, we talked about, we added the zipper allowance when I divided the paper. So I'm going to mark 2 inches for my zipper allowance. You can decide to mark your 2 inches this way, but this my ruler is about 2 inches. So I'll just place my ruler and mark the 2 inches. Okay, so this is my zipper allowance. So now let's do the main working. So the first measurement we will mark will be our shoulder measurement. So remember, we are starting from your center back, and then this is your center front. So I will impute my shoulder measurement, and I'm starting from the center back where my zipper allowance stops. So measure from your shoulder, one point of the shoulder to the other point of the shoulder. That is from your, let me say, from your left shoulder to your right shoulder. Whatever measurement you have, you divide it by 2. The one I'm working with is 17 inches. When I divide by 2, that gives me 8.5. So I will mark my 8.5 inches here. So I will come to my front. Remember, this is my center front. Remember, I'm taking this part to be my center front. So I will mark the same 8.5. You see, we divided into 2. So 8.5 here, 8.5 here, that gives the 17 inches for the shoulder, which is the full shoulder. So for my front, where I have this 17 inches, I will come down by 1 inch. That is for my shoulder slope. That is my 1 inch, which is my shoulder slope. The reason for coming down is that the shoulder is not straight. When it comes to the end of the shoulder, it's somehow sloping. So that is why we normally have the shoulder slope. So I'm using 1 inch for my front. For my back, I'm going to use 0.5 inch for my back shoulder slope. So the next thing now will be for me to impute my neck measurement. The neck measurement I'm going to make use of will be 3 by 3, which is standard. But you can decide to manipulate any standard measurement to suit what you want. You can decide to make use of 3 inches by 3. You can decide to make use of 4. You can decide to make use of 5. It depends on how wide you want the neck to be. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to make use of 3 by 3 inches for the front. So this is my 3, I believe you can see. Then I will come down by 3 inches as well. Mark another 3 inches downward from that my shoulder line. Can you see? So now I'm going to curve it. I'll use my curve ruler and curve it. Let me zoom my camera so that you can see what I'm doing. So this is my 3 inches and 3 inches. So I'll just connect them. So that is my neck measurement. Then I'll come to where I have the shoulder slope, the 1 inches that I come down. I'll connect it to my neck width. This is my neck width and this is my neck depth. So I will connect here. Can you see? So now let's work on the back. So I'm going to mark my neck width of 3 inches as well for the back. With the neck depth for the back is going to be 1 inch. You can decide to use 2 inches or the same 1 inch. So I'm going to connect it. So that is my neck for the back. Then from this, my neck width, I'm going to connect to the shoulder slope. So the next thing now is for me to mark my armhole measurement. The one I'm working with, I have 8.1 inches. So I will mark my 8.1 inches starting from my shoulder slope. Can you see? So we'll call that my chest line. You can call it upper bust as well. Call that my chest line, CL. So now the next thing I will do will be for me to draw my armhole curve. And for me to draw my armhole curve, I will draw a straight line from here to here. I'll do the same for my front pattern. I will connect my shoulder slope to my chest line. Can you see? So after drawing that, the next thing I will do will be for me to impute my bust measurement divided by 4. That is, you measure around your bust, the bust circumference. When you measure it, you divide it by 4. The measurement I'm working with is 41. So when I divide 41 by 4, that gives me 10.25. So I'll impute my 10.25 on my chest line. I'll do same for the front. 10.25 on the chest line. Okay. Then I will come to this straight line that connects my shoulder slope with the chest line. I will mark half of that line. I will divide them. I will measure the line. Then I will mark half of it. So for the back, I'll mark half of it. Then I will divide for the front as well. And I will mark half of it. Then for the front, I'm going to come in towards the center front by half of an inch. Mark half of an inch towards your center front. After marking that, then you can use your straight hand. If you are using your free hand, you use your straight ruler, mark a straight line from your shoulder slope to that point. Then you curve this line this way to form your armhole. But if you have your curve ruler, you just place your curve ruler, making sure that it touches the 3 points. That is your shoulder slope, this half inch, and then your bust measurements that you impute. Then you connect your line. That is your armhole curve. Then for the back, you don't need to go in. You just connect from here to this curve. I believe you get what I'm trying to explain. Can you see? That is for my back. You measure around your waist, whatever measurement you have, you divide it by 4. So for the waist I'm working with, it's 85 inches. When I divide by 4, that gives me 8.5. So I will come to my waistline, starting from this my seam allowance line. This is my zipper allowance line. I'll mark my 8.5. And we're going to impute that in this blouse. Remember, we added 1 inch that when we divided this line. So I will mark the 1 inch, or add the 1 inch. So in total, what I have here should be about 9.5 inches. So I will come down to my front waistline. I will mark the same 9.5 inches. Then the next measurement will be the full length measurement. So you measure the circumference of where the blouse is stopping. When you measure it, you divide it by 4. What I'm working with is 43 inches. When I divide by 4, that gives me 10.75. So I'll impute my 10.75 for the back pattern. Then I'll come to my front pattern. I'll impute the same 10.75. Can you see? Then I'm going to connect all the line. I'll connect my waistline to the hip line first. Then I will connect it to this my bust point on the chest line. Can you see? That is for the front. I will connect same for the back. Can you see? So now let's impute our dart. So from my center front on my bust line, I'm going to mark my nipple to nipple measurement. That's your bust span measurement. Measure from one side of your nipple to the other side of your nipple. Whatever measurement you have, you divide it by 2. The one I'm working with is 9 inches. When I divide it by 2, that gives me 4.5. So starting from my center front, I'll mark my 4.5 on my bust line for the front. Then I will mark same on my waistline and the full length line. I'll connect a straight line. I'll connect to have a straight line. Can you see? Then I will come to my back pattern now. So the back pattern, remember we don't have bust. We only have bust on the front. So that is why we do not have bust line at the back pattern. So now, at the back pattern, I will measure from my center back the same 4.5. That is my bust span measurement divided by 2. I will measure same on my chest line, waistline, and the full length line. I'm going to connect to form a straight line. Can you see? So to impute that on my back pattern now, from on this my waistline, I'm going to mark half of an inch on this side and half of an inch on this side. The reason being that the dart intake that I impute was 1 inch. So when I divide it into 2 sides, that gives me half of an inch here and half of an inch. But if your dart intake, if you make use of 1.5, that will be 0.75, 0.75. So it depends on the dart intake that you use. I've marked my half of an inch there, and my dart for the back will start 1 inch below my chest line. So I will mark 1 inch below my chest line. Can you see? Then I will connect here to this 1 inch. I will connect this one as well. Then when it comes to the down part, my dart will stop 2 inches before my full length line, or should I say 2 inches before my hip line. So I will mark 2 inches up from the full length. I'll mark 2 inches up. Then I will connect this to this and this to this as well. Can you see? That is my dart for the back. Now let's go to the front. I will mark the same half inch on both sides of my waistline. Can you see? Then I'm going to connect for the front will be to the bust point. Then 2 inches before my full length. The same that we did for the back. The only difference is that for the front, they start from the bust point. Can you see? Now we have imputed our dart. So now I will impute a bust dart. The reason for imputing my bust dart is, you know, where I have my waistline for the back is different from where I have for the front. So when I impute my bust dart, it will match up with that of the back. So the difference between my front and my back waist is 2 inches. So I'm going to use that 2 inches for my bust dart. So I will come to my bust line. Can you see? I'll mark the 2 inches from my bust line down. Then I will connect it to my bust point. This gives your blouse a good shape. It gives your dress a good shape. So we are basically done with the front. So let's go back to the back pattern. Let's impute our zipper allowance. You see some dresses, when you check them, you see them having folding at the back. The zipper will be folding, the back balding. So to eliminate that, you will come to your waistline. From your center back on the waistline, you mark half of an inch towards your side back. You can decide to make use of 0.75 or 1 inch, depending on how deep the person's back is. You see some people, they have a boot that is so protruding, then the waist goes inside. So you just mark depending on the shape of the person. So this one is normal, so I'll just mark half of an inch. Then from that half of an inch, I'm going to connect here to my neck depth. I'll connect the half of an inch to my neck depth. Then I will connect it back to 2 inches above the full length line. So I will mark 2 inches above the full length line, and I will connect this half of an inch to that 2 inches. So with this, when you install your zipper, that folding at the waist will be eliminated. So now let's mark our zipper allowance, because this now will make your zipper allowance will not be straight. So I'm going to make use of 2 inches for the zipper allowance. You can decide to make use of 1.5. Mine, I'm going to make use of 2 inches. So I'll mark 2 inches, starting from this half of an inch that we eliminated. I believe you get what I'm trying to say. So I will connect with a straight line. Connect to form a straight line. Can you see? So now that is my zipper. That is my zipper allowance. So now let's impute sewing allowance. So I'm going to make use of 2 inches sewing allowance. As a beginner, I would say you should make use of 2 inches sewing allowance, or you can make use of 1.5. It depends on what you want. So mark my 2 inches. So I'll connect it. I mark them 2 inches for my front. So these are my sewing allowance. Then when it comes to the shoulder, I'm going to mark half of an inch for the joining of the shoulder. So I will connect as well. That is for the joining of the shoulder. Mark them for both the front and the back. Half of an inch. So that is all for your basic bodice. So now let's cut the pattern. So before cutting it off, I will add my folding allowance. That is my hemming allowance. So I'm going to make use of 2 inches hemming allowance for both the front and the back. So that is my hemming allowance. So my pattern is ready. Can you see my front pattern and my back pattern? They are ready. So when I hold my bust dart, I can decide to hold the bust dart before cutting on the fabric, or I can decide to like sew the dart on the fabric. It depends on what you want. It's your preference. So that is that for basic bodice, and this is very important. You need to know how to draft your basic bodice, because all other thing depends on this. This is your foundation. When you know your foundation well, then you can manipulate to get any other style. So thank you so much for watching. See you on our next tutorial where we are going to cut and sew our basic bodice. Bye bye. See you.